Hey Guru Nation, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, share. I did a live stream yesterday on LinkedIn, on YouTube, on Twitter, and I got a bunch of these kind of questions. Hey, I already have an interview set up. I don't want to screw it up. 80% of the time it's with a research clinic. The other 20% it's between a tech vendor, CRO, or a sponsor. So let's focus on the 80% of the time that it is a research clinic, but a lot of this info can apply to those other vendors as well. You just got to make a few tweaks. Maybe at the end, if I feel like we have like 30 seconds, I'll give you something there. So first of all, if you didn't lie on your resume, you don't have anything to worry about. There's no trick questions where they say, aha, we got you. Like, you don't know what you're talking about. We proved it. This is a supply and demand. There's a labor shortage, guys. Stop having irrational fears in your head. If you lied on your resume, you do have a reason to fear, and you shouldn't even show up to the interview. Don't lie on your resume. Now, given that your resume is accurate and truthful, they're going to ask you questions of your previous work. So if it was in clinical research, they're going to ask you situational, task, action, response type of questions. For example, if you said you worked at another place as a clinical research assistant and now you're interviewing somewhere else to be a clinical research coordinator, they're going to ask you what you did. So make sure you have answers. Here's the takeaway. The way to separate yourself and create the most distance between you and your competition, because usually when they're interviewing you, they're interviewing about 10 more people. The way you differentiate yourself is your preparation before your interview. Study the company. Study the company. Let's say, for example, you're interviewing at my site, Yuma Clinical Trials. You go on our website, you look at what studies we do, we list them on there. Most sites list what studies they do. And if you don't know anything about those therapeutic areas, you study. The day, the week, the night, however much time you have before your interview, you study. How do you study? Well, Google is one way. But here's a few things you need to know, and then we can get into like refining it on clinicaltrials.gov. All this is free, by the way. The hustle is sold separately. The info is free, guys and gals, all right? You have to know in that therapeutic area, what are the top 5 conditions? If you don't know, Google it. There's usually 3 to 5 hot conditions in that therapeutic area. For example, in dermatology, it's psoriasis, atopic derm, and usually rosacea, okay? At least know the top 3 medical conditions in that therapeutic area. Then, that's not enough. Then you got to study those 3. What are the common treatments? Just not in research, just what are the common treatments that people with those conditions take? Again, do some homework. All right, you can find all this stuff. What are the class of drugs that those treatments are part of? Is it a new generation? Is it an old generation? For example, in psychiatry, in CNS, you have the SSRIs, you have the SNRIs, and you have the atypical antipsychotics. Atypical. My mind's in derm mode. Atypical. So if you have that knowledge and the research site is a CNS site, central nervous system disorder site, you already separated yourself from the pack. I guarantee you most of those people haven't done their homework. Now, the ones that you might compete with are ones who have previous experience in those indications. This is why you at least have to get up to par with them. The next thing you got to do, study the mechanism of action of those drugs and know what are the most common side effects. Those are called adverse events as well in research. Then you take it a step further. If you could learn some of the mechanism of action, it's okay. It will demonstrate your passion in the interview. Go to clinicaltrials.gov, look up, let's say it's derm, and you're looking up atopic dermatitis. You're going to now put in clinicaltrials.gov atopic dermatitis, atopic derm. You're going to search on clinicaltrials.gov. You're going to see studies. You're going to click on them. First, look at the most common assessments and do this for about 20 studies, 20 different atopic derm studies. Just compare them. Look at the common assessments. There's common endpoints. There's common assessments in pain studies. It's called the WOMAC. In psych, it's called the PANS, positive and negative symptoms schizophrenia. In derm, there's SCORADs. There's always common assessments. No matter what the study is, if it's that condition, there's gold standard assessments. You got to know those things, right? And then you got to know possible contraindications. What other conditions do patients with this condition typically have? If you go in with that kind of knowledge, you're separating yourself from the pack. What I just outlined is hard work. Now, if you're going to a CRO or a sponsor or a vendor, it's a little more difficult to have that strategy because sites are usually more focused on like one or two specific areas. CROs, unless it's a niche CRO, they're pretty big. But oftentimes the recruiter's going to tell you before your interview what the therapeutic area of interest is. So you do the same exact thing I just explained. If it's a tech vendor, different story. There's tech tools. You got to stay in touch and up to date with what's happening in the research industry. So decentralized trials, e-patient reported outcomes, e-consent. You got to know this stuff. But that's a way to stay ahead of the pack. Nobody's going to do it, which is why you need to do it, which is why you will probably get the job. Like, subscribe, comment, share, Guru Nation. Let me know how it goes. Bye-bye.